Hey guys, Chris Dick here. Today we're going to be carrying on with some of the features of our Game Manager application. In particular, we're going to be adding a rating feature into our games. Um, what we had in the last video is we had added this model called ratings, which allowed us to create our ratings table. And now we're going to start adding some features into our games detail view that will allow us to use some of the features that we had already set up in our models. Now, most importantly here, we're going to build a prototype feature into our display here, and sort of get things started, allowing us to build it out. So a prototype being what we're going to be working on is how how does this thing that we're going to create interact? All right. Now I'm just waiting for these for my page to come up here. Now we got it. All right, great. So we have ratings is our display, um, and then display 4 is just ratings. Now we don't have a display 4 yet, but what I'm going to start off by doing is we're going to create an area where we will display our ratings control. Okay, and our ratings control is going to be really rudimentary right now. It's just going to be a very simple form, and in fact I'm going to do this here. Let's see. Yeah, so we're going to do HTML dot begin form. Okay, and our form right now, I'm just going to keep it very simple. Okay, and in fact, this should be using. Okay, and there we go. That's better. Okay. Now, with our begin form, what we're after is we're going to start encapsulating a bunch of things, controls into this form. So in particular, we want to have a rating system that allows a rating of 0 to 9. Okay, so as long as I is less than 10, then we keep incrementing I. Okay. Now during each incrementation, we're going to be adding a radio button. Okay, and this radio button is going to be very simple. We are going to um, call this, let's see, rating. Okay, actually, it's going to be called rank in particular because rank, if we would call, is what we gave the property name, if I recall. And you know what? This is actually a really good opportunity to add a code first migration because we don't have a column called rank in our rating. That's not so good. So we're going to be adding that now. So I'm going to finish up this. We're going to come back to that. Okay, rank. All right. Now our value is going to represent I. Okay, because that's the value that it needs to be. Okay, in other words, when I push submit on this form, it's going to submit to the controller. It's going to post to the controller some information, and it's basically going to say that rank is equal to whatever I is, whatever the value of the controller is. Okay, and we'll also put in I as the value that is in place here. Okay, um, we'll put a submit button. Okay, our type equals submit. Oops, not search. Submit. Okay, and the value of submit is Submit. Okay. All right. So what we'll do right now is I'm gonna play this application the way it is, just to see what our form looks like. Okay, so we're at a details page here for one of our games. And what we can see here is our ratings controller. It's not very sexy. It's not designed to be that right now, but it's designed to be functional. So if I simply do this here and push submit, my submit button's not going to do much right now because unfortunately there's nothing on the other end that would represent ratings in the game's controller, because if you recall, all we did was we used the default begin form. Okay, so it'd be actually looking um, for games slash details post. Okay, and we don't have that right now. So I wanted to just see how it looked, and it looks pretty good. All right. Now the next thing that we're going to do is we have to add a controller for ratings. Okay. Now, unlike what we've done before, we're going to be adding in this controller, but it's going to be empty. Okay. So we click on add. Okay. And we're going to call this ratings. We've got our ratings control up and running. Okay. And we're going to add in a function called uh, set rating. Okay. Means that we feed in a game ID. All right. So when we're feeding in a game ID, that's the important thing that we need, because we're asking for a game ID to give a rating, and we also need a rank that we are applying. Okay. So it's a decimal. Okay, and it will be rank. Okay. So in other words, I'm saying, hey, set the game rating set the rank for this game ID, and then we move on. So what we have to do is we have to first of all create a new rating. Okay, equals new rating. All right, you'll notice these red underlines here. We'll just simply add in the models that allows us to do that. Okay, and we're going to say that rating dot rank. Okay, and you notice we haven't got rank in here yet. We will in a moment. Okay, now rank is going to be like this. So we are going to choose one of the quick actions. Okay, and it says generate a property or generate a field. Okay, if you look at what a field is it's just a it's not a property. It's a declared variable. Okay, whereas a property has our getter and setter. Okay, so we're gonna create a property. Okay, now there's a few things that we want to do before we actually set up our database to accept our rank, but I want to finish up what we're doing here. All right, now our game ID also needs to be set. Okay, and what we also have is a special feature for asking for a user ID. Okay, now this is a really important thing. From the identity manager, we can ask for the user. Okay, we also need to have the identity, and we're going to ask for this feature here, get user ID. All right, and it is available in the Microsoft.ASP.NET.Identity. Okay, there are a couple other places where you can see this used, and I'm just going to do a quick find through the entire application so that you can see where else it's used, and that way you can you can compare notes on where else someone has used it. So we see it in the manage controller. Okay, it's used again there. All right, it's also used in here at this point. All right, and there's a lot of places just like this um, that are still, it's like something that you could use. You could store a variable and use use the information later on rather than making several calls. Okay, so I'm just going to step through a couple more here, but mostly they're all in the manage controller. Okay, so I don't need to show you, but I thought I would show you some examples of how that works. Okay, now we're going to do something that is not particularly the right way, but I want to just do this so that I can show you how to make it work. Okay, now we're going to be displaying the details. Okay, and it is from the games controller. Okay, our route values. Okay, our route values are the ID. Okay, ID equals game ID. Okay, and that means that once we add our rating to the database, then we then we can uh, be redirected back to the details page. It's a bit of a roundabout, so the next video that I do will be doing this with jQuery, which is obviously a lot more effective. Okay, now the next thing we are missing here is a data context. Okay, and everywhere else we've called it DB, so we're going to continue calling it DB. All right, so we do this DB dot ratings. Okay, why do I not have ratings? Yes, I haven't added it to the DB context, so I'm also going to be adding that. Okay, and if you see here, we can add that as a property as well. Okay, click there. And before I do that, I'm going to go into the DB context and change what object it is. It's a virtual DB set of type rating. If you look here, I'm in the data context. Okay, we can take off this internal set feature. We don't need that. Okay, and we'll close that up. All right, good. The last thing we have to do is save our changes. Okay, and once we've saved our changes, we are then able to be redirected back to our games detail with our game ID, and that should now display our new results from our ratings. Okay, now we're going to go into our rating model, and we're going to make a few changes that allow for us to work with it. Okay, so first off, I'm going to take off this internal function. All right, now our rank has a range. Okay, this is another data annotation. It has a range of 0 to 9. All right. Should set a display as well. Why not? It'll be the same as the variable name, but the thing is that the variable name may change as well as the display can change, and we want to make some distinctions around that. Okay, excellent. Very good. Now, in our game model, okay, we're also going to make some changes. Okay, we're going to add in a feature that is a not mapped feature. Okay, and this will be a property that gives us the overall rating. Okay, now the overall rating is just going to be a get function. In other words, you can't set the overall rating. It's just going to be drawing the information from the ratings collection. Okay. Now, because this is a computed column, it's going to be adorned with the not mapped feature, okay, or not mapped annotation. To look at how this works here, we're going to say if ratings, that's the collection, okay, dot count is greater than 0, okay, we want to return ratings.average. Okay, now we haven't got this function in here, but I will add it in just a moment. Okay, and our lambda will be rank. Okay, and this will take the average of all the rank elements here. Okay, now I'm going to add in a reference to using dot or system.link. Okay, by adding that, we now have our average function. Okay, and finally, because if we don't have a count greater than 0, we just want it to return 0. All right. Okay. In fact, it was brought to my attention the other day that perhaps it should be 9 because that should be the highest. All right. So, okay, excellent. Because nobody's ranked it yet, so why mark them down? Why not, eh? Okay. Now, in our details page, we go back. All right, and I'm going to add a feature here that simply puts in a paragraph, okay, that says the overall rating for model.name is model.overall rating. Okay. Now we're going to add in one more thing here, just because if our model dot ratings dot count is greater than 0, all right. Okay, that's when we put this in. In other words, if it's greater than 0, we want our paragraph to display. Okay. Otherwise, we have to display a slightly different message. Okay. And we'll just say be the first to rate model.name. Okay. Quite easy to do. All right. So now let's run this, see what happens. Oh, one more thing before we do that. We actually kind of went a roundabout way to set our begin form here. So in our begin form, we are looking for it. Let's just know exactly how to set this up here. Okay, so we have a few different methods to set this. So we want action name and controller to be our method here. So it's set rating and it's in the ratings controller. Okay. Super. All right. And of course, what that's going to be doing is it's going to be sending in, it's going to need to send in a game ID. Okay. And we're going to do a hidden for, hidden for, and we're going to ask it for the the game ID. Okay. And what are we looking at? Game ID right here. Okay. Very, very nice. We've got a game, genre. Okay. Excellent. All right. Very good. Okay. So what this form will pass in is it'll pass in a game ID and a rank. Okay. Those two parameters will correspond to game ID and rank. All right. We could have passed in a rating model just the same, and it would have filled in rank and game ID for us. It just wouldn't have filled in the user, which we would have had to fill later on. Either one would work. Okay, so let's run our application and see what happens. Okay, so we have this error that's come up now, and this is an important error. It's actually just telling us, hey, there's something changed here, but we don't know what to do with it. Now, it's pointing to application DB context because if you recall, ratings is related to application DB context, but we're not going to be updating the application DB context. We are going to be updating our our data context model. Okay, so if we go back over to our package manager console, we have to apply some updates. Okay, so we're going to add a migration. Okay, so we add migration, added rank to rating. Okay, great. And then if we recall, I just want to pull up my help for this topic here. So we'll just do that quickly. And just so I can show you here. So we want to add the configuration type name, and we're also going to be giving it a name as well, just like I was about to do. Okay, so configuration type name right there. First application dot migrations dot data context. Okay, dot configuration. Okay, so we'll go. We'll click on add. Okay, and this will add our migration to the data context configuration, which we can then apply our update to. Okay. All right. So I'm going to run update database. Okay. And I just want to see what kind of errors it comes up with. I'm going to see if it tells us to do something different. I don't think it should, but we'll find out. Okay. Yes, we did need to do that. Okay. And let's just remind ourselves what our parameters are. I think it's just configuration type name, just like we did before. So I'm going to just go up here and grab that type name rather than retyping everything. Okay, and we click enter. All right. Now what we should do in the meantime is I'm going to pull up SQL Management Studio, and we'll load up our Game Manager DB. Okay, so we've got into our SQL Management Studio. You can see that our new rank column has been added to the ratings table. All right. So now let's run our application, and we'll actually try to submit some data to rating. We need to do the same thing that we did with DB context. However, we don't need to add in add column at all. We're actually gonna delete those features altogether. Okay, and make this really simple. So this was identity. There we go. Okay. Now over here, we're gonna just delete this feature. Okay. All we have to do is run an update database. It actually won't do anything, but because it is something that we're trying to do concurrently to ensure that everything gets updated, we're going to run those features at the same time. Okay, identity configuration. We're going to run the update on that as well. And again, it's not going to do anything, but it's something that we have to do. We have to sort of manage two things at once. Okay. Now, when I run this again, it won't be complaining this time because it's already added the migration to the migration history. And I'll show you what the migration history looks like. In fact, we just do a select top 1000, and there should be, I think, 5 or 6 migrations in this file by now. Okay. 5 or 6 here. So we've added on our identity configurations, we've simply done that. Now, what I probably could have done on our identity configuration is I could have added and ignore changes, but we'll do that another time. And that just means that it won't be asking us for changes on that anymore. But it's a little better sometimes to be verbose when I'm doing these videos, just so everybody understands. Okay, so now we're up and running. We do have our database up to date. We're going to go into the games and we're going to go look at our details here. So right now it says be the first to rate game, and I'm going to give that a rating of 8 right now. And we're going to submit, but before I do that, I'm going to make sure that I'm in the ratings controller, and I want to make sure that I'm adding the right information. Okay, so we're going to go back over, press on submit. Okay, we know now that it's in the set rating, so we know that called. Okay, now you'll notice here as well, I didn't put in HTTP post. Okay, I'm going to be adding that in later, but I just wanted to also make note that because it's the only one that it's posting to, it doesn't have to be there, but more annotations are often better. So we'll just check out our rating here. It looks like we have our game ID, which is excellent. We have a rank of 8, which we posted earlier, and we also have a user ID. Okay, and the reason we have a user ID is because I am logged in, and that's going to be a topic of something else that we're going to do when we discuss the user management system. Okay, I'm going to click on continue. And if all went well, we have an overall rating because we went back to the details, and now it says overall rating for this game is 8. Let's click on 9. And we're just going to do a few more ratings here. Okay, you're seeing it's becoming 8.5. Let's throw in a few more ratings. Okay, and we're getting some numbers that are really big. Okay, just like that. All right, one more, why not? All right, let's get down to a nice round number. Okay, smaller numbers there, right? Okay, so now we've got lots of ratings in our table. If I go back over here, click on select all, okay, you can see that me as a user here, I rated a whole bunch of things on the same game, and that ultimately wouldn't be the best rating system if I allowed a user to always rate the same thing, rate the same game. But that is job number 1 here. We are going to be adding a little more logic later on where we start to define um, whether a rating has already been applied. Okay, so now all that being worked on, what we've now been able to do is interact with our rating table, add a controller, update our database with um, migrations, and interact slightly with a partial. Okay, the next video that we're gonna do is using jQuery to update this information, and we'll also fancy up our control a little bit so that we have a nice star system, if you will. So catch me on the next video. I really appreciate your time today. Remember to like and share, and please subscribe. It means a lot to me, and let's keep it going, guys. Thanks a lot. Have a great day. Bye.